Tech Talk with Mathew Dickerson. Mathew Dickerson. Tech Talk. Sit back and relax. It's time to talk technology.
It is Tech Talk time. Mathew Dickerson. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Great to be back for another year of Tech Talk. There's so much to catch up on already.
And some very interesting stuff. Tell me about the Zero Connected TV.
This is a classic case, Rod, of technology solving a first world problem. You bring home your nice new big TV, your 65-inch, 75-inch, whatever it might be. You sit it on that nice stand or you put it up on the wall, and then it all looks nice until you've got to plug all those messy cables in. You've got to run those from the various devices you have, your gaming consoles or your pay TV or your various little different devices, and that all looks a bit clumsy. So LG have solved the problem for us. They've now got what they call a Zero Connect TV. One minor issue is you still need power plugged into the panel, but normally one cable, you can hide that away or you can live with that. And then you've got a box, a Connect box that you put somewhere else in the room. It's got to be within about 10 metres of the TV, but that's the device that you plug all your other devices into. So it's got your HDMI ports, it's got your various connections there for your stereo or your consoles. All those things plug into that Zero Connect box, and then that wirelessly transmits your signal to your TV. 10 metres is the limit, as I mentioned. It also can't have a lot of obstructions in the road, although it can handle someone walking across in front of it, for example, because it's buffering what it sends to the actual TV. So you do, they've thought about those sorts of things, but the idea here is that you could put that in a cabinet below the TV or somewhere else across your lounge room, anywhere within 10 metres, and you'd get away from all those ugly, terrible cables that are sitting there cluttering up that beautiful TV sitting on the wall. At this stage, they're going for their high-end TVs only, so only their flagship signature M3 TVs, which come in 77-inch, 83 and 97-inch. But again, this is the first iteration of this. I can imagine that as time goes on, we'll see this same sort of technology in other models, in lower spec models as time goes forward.
Yes, and a lot of people have that first world problem, so you're right. I reckon it'll be not too long until we can all get it in our TVs. But wait, there's more. One step further, a cordless TV.
A cordless TV. If you think that sounds great, LG, but I still don't like that one power cord, then another company, this isn't LG, but this other company called Displace actually uses normal TV, so they're not going and trying and reinventing the wheel, but what they've done is they've adapted this so that you've got 4 batteries that you slot into the TV, so then you can stick that TV anywhere and then use the same concept with that Zero Connect box concept where you're transmitting the signal to it, and then you can put that anywhere you like. Forget about having a PowerPoint somewhere near your TV. You can just stick it up on a wall, put it on a cabinet, sit it wherever you might need to be, go outside, have it somewhere where you want to sit down and watch the footy or the cricket. But it gets better than that. It's actually got a vacuum component on the back of it, so you can literally stick it on a wall without any mounting devices whatsoever. Now, as you can imagine, it's using a vacuum to hold it there, so it needs to be a smooth wall. Glass is absolutely perfect for it because glass is nice and smooth. A gyprock wall you can get away with. A brick wall, no, it wouldn't work with that unless it was a rendered wall because it obviously can't hold that vacuum there. Now, the only minor problem I see with this, which could be a major problem, is it needs power to keep that vacuum going. So when it actually creates that vacuum, it needs power just to top up that vacuum and make sure it's got a good hold there. 4 batteries plugged into it. They eventually go flat. They say it'll last about a month of normal usage. So you go away for a weekend, your TV's sitting there on the wall, you come back and your TV's on the ground because, oh no, the batteries went flat while I was away. And of course, once it loses power, it loses that vacuum and the TV falls off the wall. So I like the idea. You just want to keep an eye on those batteries, make sure they're kept fully charged all the time.
All right, and how about the first smart deadbolt capable of wireless charging?
We are into wireless at this stage, aren't we? This seems to be the next big area that there's going to be more development. Now, smart deadbolts aren't a new thing. In fact, I've got a few smart deadbolts around my house. You can wave your phone near them, use an app on your phone to open them, wave your watch near them. Whole range of ways you can open smart deadbolts. They seem to work quite well. I'm quite impressed with the technology. But the big issue is it needs power. Now, you can either run a flexible power cord to the door, and obviously the door's opening and closing, so you need to have that flexible power cord there into the door, then run it inside the door, and that's all a bit of a hassle. Or, as with most of them, they've got batteries, either replaceable or rechargeable batteries. But I find on one of my deadbolts in particular, it's about every month or two I'm having to recharge those batteries before I put them back in there. And that's all a bit of a hassle. You go away again, you come home, oh no, I forgot to charge the battery before I went away. Now it's flat, how do I get into my house? Well, this particular deadbolt will use wireless charging. Now again, it seems to be about 10 metres, seems to be the distance it needs to be from that. You get what's called a Y-Charge charging kit, plug that into a power point somewhere, point that vaguely at your door, and it will keep it charged up. So it sounds a bit scary, doesn't it, when you're sending enough power through the air to actually charge something. It's one thing sending enough power through the air to connect to the internet or to send pictures across to your TV, but this is actually transmitting power to keep a device charged up. Just to keep your mind at ease, it's actually been given FDA approval in America to say that the amount of infrared energy that it's using is not going to have a negative impact on the human body. So that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. But that's the thing here is now we're getting to the point where you've got batteries in this device, but you never have to take them out to charge them.
I still wonder about that effect on the body. I got when I first got my first mobile phone, and carrying it around in my left pocket, my hip would start aching and aching and aching. And I knew that I needed to have hip replacement when I was a teenager. And it just got worse and worse. Move it over to the other pocket, in the right pocket, no aching.
There you go.
There's definitely something there.
Do you think it was a placebo effect, or you think it was real?
I believe it was real. Now, gigabyte internet. How much do we have in Australia?
Well, we don't have much gigabit, to be technically correct there. Gigabit, we don't have a lot of gigabit in Australia. People that have got the fibre to the premises version of NBN can usually access gigabit connections. That's mainly download speeds. People that have got fibre to the node technologies typically might only get 50 megabits per second, maybe 100 megabits per second. So gigabit is something that's not available to everyone. But in England, they're saying it's progressed far enough now that this is an essential service, so they've now made it a legal requirement for new homes to have gigabit connections. And I did talk about this years ago, Rod, that at some point in time I said you'll get to the stage when you're buying a new home, you'd expect it to have water connected to it, power connected to it, and internet connected to it, and then better internet. And now, again, obviously in England, if you're building a new home, you'd expect all those things. You'd expect some sort of sanitation, some sort of water, some sort of power, and gigabit internet. The other big issue in England that's been identified is in that units in apartment blocks, getting the landlord to agree to have a retrospective installation of high-speed internet is a bit of a problem. Some landlords don't want to pay for it. Some landlords don't want to have interruption to their actual building, so you don't want to have physical activities undertaken on that. But again, they've changed the law now and they're making it much easier for tenants in those apartment blocks to say, no, I want to get some sort of decent internet connection and my landlord's got to play ball with me. My landlord just can't ignore the fact that I want that. So there's some changes that are happening there because it is at the point now where it would certainly be a factor for me. If I was moving to a new home and it didn't have decent internet connectivity, that'd be enough for me to say, I'm not going to buy that home, I'm not going to rent that home. Now, I'm a bit focused on technology, I understand that, but for more and more people, that's becoming a major issue.
It is indeed. We're talking tech with Mathew Dickerson. And what are we going to talk about next? A ship taller than the Eiffel Tower to build the biggest offshore wind farm.
Wind farms are going ahead. I hate to tell people this. Some people don't like the look of them. And certainly on land, they're going ahead. But where we're going to see the largest development is when we get those offshore wind farms. And we see them now. You travel around various parts of the world, you'll see these wind turbines out in the ocean. Good, consistent wind supply. They can make them larger there out in the ocean. You've got to get the power back to land, but that seems to have been covered fairly well. But we're getting bigger and bigger ones now. Now, what we're finding in an area called Dogger Bank, this is off the northeast coast of England, and England's only a fairly small patch of land, as we know, so they're using a lot of offshore power. Then you're getting to the stage where you're getting huge turbines. We're talking 14 megawatt turbines. Now, to give you an idea of the size, if you know the wind turbines down as you drive from Dubbo to Wellington, you've got the Badengra wind farm there on the northern side of the highway as you're driving along, and those turbines there are typically around 1.5 to maybe 2 megawatt turbines. So when you talk about 14 megawatt turbines, that's pretty big. Now, part of the problem is you're going offshore. How are you going to install these? So you've got ships now that are absolutely huge. And there's one ship in particular, taller than the Eiffel Tower. It's got 4 130-metre long legs, and they stand on the seafloor, and then the whole unit from the seafloor to the top reaches 336 metres high. It can lift 3,200 tonnes. So you can actually go out there and construct this entire huge wind turbine out in the middle of the ocean. Now, there's huge demand for these type of ships. This ship in particular, this one ship, has been booked out for the next 3 years for the construction work that's going on. But there are plans to either build from scratch or upgrade another 20 ships over the next 2 years that will do exactly the same as this. So you can imagine there's a huge amount of demand for these ships. And as we keep going forward, we're going to see these 14 megawatt wind turbines maybe get larger, maybe 15, maybe 20 megawatt wind turbines. This area at Dogger Bank is going to provide enough power for 6 million UK homes, and this whole area will be completed by the year 2026. So if you don't like the idea of wind turbines, if you don't want to see the future, then keep your eyes closed because they're going to pop up all sorts of places.
Speaking of the future, Elon Musk, what's he doing next?
Well, it was huge news when Jack Dorsey, the former head of Twitter, made the announcement back in 2017 they were going to go from 140 character maximum on Twitter to 280 characters. Now, when Twitter first started, it was designed to be a bit like a text message. As you remember, when text messaging first started, it was about 160 character limit that you had on that. So with Twitter, they kind of went the same way, 140 characters, and then they needed a few characters for some of the overheads there. But obviously things change. You can get text messages now longer than 160 characters, and Twitter adapted to that and said 280 characters. That was huge news. Some people said back in 2017, oh no, this is the death of Twitter. We like Twitter because it's got brevity. It gets to the point straight away. Elon Musk has announced that next month it's going to be an increase from 280 characters to 4,000 characters. Many people are saying, well, what makes Twitter different? Once you do that, what makes it any different to the other social media apps out there? If they all look the same as each other, you kind of find that you don't have that competitive advantage that you used to have. Is this the death of Twitter as we know it? Will Twitter lose its competitive advantage once it goes to 4,000 characters? Well, I don't want to question Elon. He's got more money than I've got. He's had more success in business than I've had. Who am I to question Elon? But many people around the world are, and they're saying that this is the wrong move. Why are you doing this, Elon? What is the point of all of this? So there's been a few changes that Elon's made with Twitter so far since he's taken ownership. I'm not sure that many of them have been great successes. Let's see what happens with this one.
I thank you for your time today.
My pleasure, Rod. Always great to chat technology.